Hello guys, and welcome to a new Stone Division 2 video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you a look at Panzerdivision Tatra. This is the second of two divisions available in the new Lucky 13 DLC, which is free for everyone. So again, if you haven't picked up Stone Division 2 in a while, then now is probably a good time to do so. But as usual, if you would like to read the description on the right hand side, then feel free to pause the video and take a look. I'm going to be jumping straight in. We'll have a look at the division as a whole. I'm going to go through like all of the units that are available and then talk about how the division's kind of like spaced out in terms of availability and activation points and stuff. And then I'll show you guys a deck that I've made already. So jumping into the Recon tab, we have BMW motorcycles. Not the most useful unit, unfortunately, but they are in most divisions. There is a card of Aufklärer. These come in 4, 8, and 12 in A, B, and C. They can be brought in with the 222 armored personnel carrier with the 20mm on it. This is a very nice recon support unit for helping you deal with infantry. So definitely something to consider there. You get 2 cards of Battlegroup. These don't have any decent transports. The Horch is, I think, slightly faster than the Kubel, so bear that in mind. But otherwise, nothing special about the Battlegroup. Then you've got the SBW 231 available. This is only available in Phase A, but a very good armoured support vehicle for your infantry. And then you've got the Aufklärer Panzer 3M. Really nice accuracy on the APCR with these. Can be pretty strong. But not necessarily always needed, because the damage on the APCR is actually quite low, so they take quite a lot of shots to kill an enemy unit, and therefore often it's just best to either use the AP shell or just like another tank. But either way, it is an option here. Moving on to the infantry tab. Now, this infantry tab is very disheartened. As you can see, you get Ersatztruppen. You're 18 in A or 27 in B. There's Landesschützen Ost, which have 12, 24, and 32 availability, with the MP28 9 Mosins and the MG08 15. Then there's the Volksdam. Now the Volksdam are a new unit. They come with the MP28, 11 Mannlichers, and 8 Panzerfausts. Now only one can be fired at a time, but they've got quite a lot of ammo, as you can see. Now these are easily the best disheartened units that you can get in this division. They are very strong because of the sheer amount of rifles they get. If you compare them to the Ersatztruppen for the same price, you get 3 more men, which is basically 3 more rifles. So your damage is, as you can see, 0.3 higher because of those rifles. Plus you get an AT weapon. So Volksdam, very, very good value for money at the moment. And they also have very good stealth. So there's that as well. This is kind of like a key unit in Panzerdivision Tatra. And there's the Schupo as well. This is the other disheartened unit you can get. But they have a machine gun and automatic rifle, which is why they cost a little bit more. And yeah, I mean, we've seen Schupo before. We've seen Schupo since the game came out with the with Kuruk. So there you go. Grenadiers with Panzerfaust, MP40, 7 Kar98s, and the MG34. Availability 6, 12, and 18. Standard line infantry. Only 9 men per squad though, it's not ideal. So there are other better options further down that you'd probably use over Grenadiers. First of the leaders is the Pioneerführer. This has the 2 Gewaltladungs. So yeah, it's a decent close range leader. The nice thing, the thing I've started to like a lot about Pioneerführers is they can kind of like take an enemy squad with them. Like if your Grenführer gets snuck up on at close range, they just die because they can't really fight back. And if you try and run, generally the enemy runs you down. Whereas with a Pioneerführer, sometimes you can just like straight up win and your unit will be left on like 2 or 1 men, based on whatever finds you, or they throw a HE satchel at you and you fire the HE at them, and then you trade. And I just find that Pioneerführers in general get more value, whilst also providing the leadership. So I have been using them a lot more recently. Anyway, you can get Pioneers with MG26s. These are actually quite nice because normally Pioneers come with MG34s. So, and what an MG34 can't do is fire within 100 meter range, whereas a MG26 can. So Pioneer with MG26s are actually technically better than standard Pioneers in that regard, or at least they're better at close range. An MG34 is able to, of course, deal more suppression and damage at long range, but yeah, the MG26 is nice for kind of capitalizing on the explosion of your HE there. So yeah, pretty nice squad. 5 available in A, 10 available in B. Transport is only the Opel Blitz. I think only Opel Blitz available for all of these disheartened squads as well. Yeah. Same for the Grenadiers and the Horch. Oh yeah, the Pioneer Führer can be brought in with the Panzerbuchse SDKFZ 251-7. But this isn't the best unit. The penetration isn't really that great, and generally the half-track just gets killed before it kills anything because it's got pretty low health compared to whatever it's shooting at, usually. There is standard Panzergrenführer as well as Grenführer. They just kind of look different, pretty much the same loadout though. And then you got the Panzergrans with MG26s. So in most cases, you're going to always want to take these over Grenadiers. They have 2 MGs, like 2 MG26s, which is going to be better than having 1 MG34, I believe. So, especially in terms of damage, at least. So, Panzer Grenadiers with MG26s are always going to be better. I guess the only reason you would take the Grenadiers is because they're cheaper and they get a Panzerfaust, which has slightly more range, but doesn't really make much of a difference when it comes to the Haftaladen. So yeah, you get 4 cards of these, 9 available in A, 18 in B, and 27 in C. So quite a lot of availability. Then there's Sturm Pioneers, 5 in A, 10 in B, 15 in C. All come with 1-star veterancy, at least. And pretty much your standard Flamer squad with the Flammenwerfer for 41. So that's cool. There is the Landesführer. It's actually quite a nice, chunky leader squad. It has the 7 Mosins with the MG26 and smoke grenades, so it has the utility of the leader that you need, like the smoke being there, and then it also has a lot of men, so it stays alive for quite a long time. So great support, and also decent availability at 3 and 6 in A and B. Then you get a card of normal Panzergrans, but with Panzerfaust. These come with the 2 MG42s, absolutely deadly at long range against enemy units, and even more deadly at like mid-range engagements where their accuracy gets even better on the machine gun because the enemy is closer. You get 6 of these in A, 12 in B. These can be brought in with the SDKFZ 251-1 half-track. I believe they are the only unit that's able to do so. Actually, no, the SS Stone Grenadier can as well. But either way, yeah, Panzergrans with Panzerfaust, decent unit for sure, definitely worth taking. And then you have the SS Stone Grenadiers, and these guys are actually really, really good. 8 MP44s and 2 MG42s. Now, if you manage to take an engagement where you can use both the MP44s and the MG42s at the same time, i.e. around the 100 to 300 meter mark, because they can't fire within 100 meters, these MG42s. That is the sweet spot for this unit, where they're going to do so much damage. Like, I'm not kidding, they do a lot of damage. 6, 12, and 18 available in availability in each phase. And there you go, yeah. Nice, decent unit to finish off there. Only for 30 points as well. Moving on to the tank tab. Panzer 38 has made it into the tank tab. I think the only time we've seen this before is as a commander. But yeah, we have the Panzer 38 here. It has actually relatively decent armament. Like, it's a really good value for money unit. It's only 20 points. It has 60mm of frontal armor. And it has at least 17 round per minute rate of fire with a 1-star veterancy. 57% accuracy. Like, this thing is really, really nice for cleaning up early game enemy armor. So say goodbye to M8 rushes if you bring in all of these at the start. because you're quite simply going to be getting way more value than your opponent is with these units, if they're going to be like pushing you with M8s at the start. And they are very, very nice support units. Just for taking out enemy half-tracks as well is another great use for them. And they're also, you know, good enough to kill things like Stuarts and maybe like lighter to medium armor. They do actually have some penetration versus medium armor at close range, and with the rate of fire, it can actually be pretty deadly. So 8 available in A, 12 available in B. Definitely a card I'd recommend. Panzer 3Ls are available. You can get 6 in A. You can actually bring in 5 at 2-star veterancy, so I would definitely consider this if you bring in the card. But same as the Recon, basically, with the Recon variant here, the Afghan Panzer 3M, just without the Recon capability. I think there's also a bit of an armor difference as well on the side armor because of the skirts, so yeah, bear that in mind. Anyway, moving on, Panzer 4s are available. You get 5 of these in A, 10 in B, 15 in C. Only 1 card though. Make sure you choose wisely where you want to bring them in. Only 1 Panzer IV H Führer can be brought in at 2-star veterancy. Not the best card in the world. Stug 3G can be brought in again. A and B, 5 and 10 availability. Probably want to double vet your Stugs almost always because they just benefit so much from it. With 10 round per minute rate of fire, they can be very, very strong with the 135 millimeters of penetration. So yeah, it's a really good one to up vet, and you still get 3 availability at 2 vet compared to like a Panzer IV, which you only get 2 at 2 vet in phase A. So availability curve is much better for Stugs, which is why you almost always bring them at 2-star, or at least I'd recommend to. You don't have to, of course. Since, I mean, I guess if you brought them at 1-star veterancy, you'd get more of them, and you'd still be able to make them 3-star using a leader and commander. But the nice thing about bringing anything 2-star is you only need a leader, not a commander as well. Stug 3G Führer. You can get 2 of these on a card, and you might want to if you like your Stugs. But then there's a card of Tigers. Only 1 available in A, 2 in B, and 4 in C. You have to bring them at the 2-star veterancy. Similar to, I think, Kuruk, who have the same vet curve, but yeah, some nice elite Tigers here to help you out. They get 7 round per minute rate of fire, which is still not great, to be honest. You're going to definitely want to push these to 3 vet just to make the most out of them at max range. But yeah, got some Tigers in there. Support tab. Support tab's quite interesting. You've got your Feldjaeger, which are going to be quite important for your disheartened units if you bring in a lot of them. But there's also the Feldjaeger. Now the Feldjaeger have already been in the game for quite a while. They are in fact in the campaign. I believe, I'm not sure exactly which campaign they're in, but I think most security divisions in the campaign do actually have access to these at some point. So yeah, these have 4 MP44s and a G43 with a scope. And they also provide the same bonus as the Feldjaeger, so they are military police. And what that does, for anyone who doesn't know, is basically stops disheartened troops from automatically falling back when they reach full stress. So very, very nice supporting unit for your disheartened units, particularly the Volksdam. Volksdam are a very strong unit in themselves, and if you can stop them from falling back so much, with the support of a strong unit like the Feldjaeger, then you've got a good combination going on there. In terms of vehicles, Horch, Kubel, Oberblitz, nothing special about their transports, unfortunately. There is the Flammenwerfer available, 6 in A, 9 in B. You got the 50mm mortars, seen these plenty of times before. MG34 squads are available, 6 in A, 12 in B, and 18 in C. But you don't take MG34s when you have MG42s available, especially at 5, 10, and 15 in C. You do get IG-18s, but only in phase A, and only 4 of them. And you get Stug 3Es, the good old Stuggy. I like these tanks a lot. They're really good fun. 1-star veterancy, make it 3-star veterancy. These have crazy rate of fire. It's kind of like it's basically the assault gun from the IG-18, right? So it has really decent rate of fire, plus, you know, you're armored. So you can get pretty close up to infantry and just decimate them just by constantly plinking them with HE shells. I really, really like the Stuggy. Opal Blitz munitions, you get 3 cards of those, and then in terms of commander choices, you get BMW motorcycle, which is probably easily the worst choice. The Panzer 38T commander, which is pretty decent, and the SDKFZ 261. Now the 261 is probably the best choice because generally you don't want to fight with your commander, and commanders you want to favor probably strong top armor is very important, and both of them have it. But where the SDKFZ 261 wins out is its speed. So if it gets into trouble, you can run away with it easier. And moving on to the anti-tank tab. The anti-tank tab in Panzerdivision Tatra is pretty cool. You get quite a lot of options here. First off is the Panzerbuchse 39. 8, 12 and 20 availability. Decent at the start if you want to transport snipe stuff, but otherwise doesn't really have much of use in the mid to late game. Panzerschrecks, always good, can only be brought in Phase A though. Pak 36 is your standard AT gun here. These come in quite a lot of divisions. They have the heat shells at the closer ranges, 750 meter range with 180 mils of penetration. And then you got that longer range AP shell with the 1000 meter range and 65 mils of penetration. These all come at 2-star veterancy. You get 6, 9 and 12 in each phase. So yeah, quite a nice AT gun, but what's better is the Pak 37. The Pak 37 is a 47 mil as opposed to a 37 mil gun, and so it has 90 millimeters of base penetration plus 1250 meter range. So the Pak 37 is just all round better for your standard AP engagements, and is actually pretty scary against light and medium tanks. So definitely something you're going to want to take to help you out. Then there's the ZIS-3, the FK288. You can bring in a card of these. You get 3 in A, 6 in B, and 9 in C. These do have radio, so they can actually indirect fire quite effectively, especially if you do have radio on the front line to go with it. So whilst you're not actually shooting at enemy tanks, or you can actually engage enemy like soft targets at range and indirectly, which is nice. There is a card on the Marder 3s though. These are okay. Nothing special about them, basically just Pak 40 mounted on an armoured hull. They are useful for ambushing and playing out of light cover. Then you got the Pak 40, pretty standard stuff again. 190mm APCR, just as a reminder. 145mm AP shell. The AP shell only has 1750 meter range, and the APCR only has 1500 meter range these days. Same goes for the Marder 3, has the same ranges. But there is also the Jagdpanzer. This has, again, the same ranges as the Marder 3 and the Pak 40, because it's pretty much the same gun, and same penetration values as well. But the Jagdpanzer is nicer because it has 105mm of frontal armor compared to the 20mm of the Marder 3. Of course, you're paying a lot more for it, and you also get a machine gun though. So yeah, I really like the Jagdpanzer 38T. I think it's a really cool unit for sure. Then there's the Jagdpanzer 4. These have been buffed lately. They now have 145mm of penetration because their gun was changed. So you get the 130mm of frontal armor plus the 145mm of penetration. Makes them actually pretty good at taking on T-34-85s, for example. And yeah, they can trade much more efficiently now at the 105 point mark. Get 3 of these in A, 6 in B. In terms of the Jagdpanzer, you get 4 in A, 8 in B, and 12 in C. The availability on the Jagdpanzer 38T has always been relatively generous. Then there's a card of the Pak 43 Krupp, the 88mm. This thing is an absolute beast with 230mm of penetration at 2000 meter range. You can only bring them in Phase A though, 2 vet or 2 availability. And there you go, that's your anti-tank tab. Anti-air, same with the other division, Task Force Butler. You really don't have much choice here. You bring the Flak Volings in A, and then you either bring in the Flak 41s in B or C. I would generally recommend C if you're going to be playing team games. If you're playing like 1v1 or 2v2s, then probably you're going to want them in B. Artillery. Beobachter is available if you want them, 3 in A, 6 in B. Battlefeuer, as always, is available to supplement leaders in the infantry tab. 81mm mortars. No radio on these though. 4 available in phase A, 8 in B, 12 in C. The K35 105 is probably the best sort of 100mm, like around 100mm artillery piece. I think this has the least dispersion out of all of your options here. So the LEFH 1419 100mm and also the LEFH 18M 105. I think the K35 is probably your best option. It has 8 round per minute rate of fire and the 5.2 damage. Only 2 available in A and 4 in C though. Then you've got this version only available in phase A. 6 round per minute rate of fire, so less round per minute rate of fire, and I'm pretty sure the dispersion's bigger. And then you've got the LFH 18M, again, low rate of fire, bigger dispersion, not ideal. So yeah, this would probably be your best choice if you want like a mid-range artillery piece. Of course, you are sacrificing availability for that, but you can at least bring them in phase B. There is a card of Panzerwerfers. I say Panzerwerfers, a Panzerwerfer that you can bring in. There's only 1 available in phase A. Probably something you want to consider because they can be very useful if you bring them in early on to sort of stun areas of infantry for you to push through and surrender, or just to kill individual support units like AT guns or AA, for example. These can be quite good for taking those out because it's basically the equivalent to a Nebelwerfer 41. Then you've got the SFH 150mm, but only 1 card of them. You get 1 in A, 2 in B, and 4 in C, as usual. But you can bring them in with the multi-munition truck, so they can bring in their own supply, which is very handy. Unfortunately, I don't think you can bring in the supply trucks with any of the other artillery pieces, but you can bring in more multiers with the 88s if you wanted to. But since AA is so sort of skint in this division, I think making it cost more is probably a bad idea. Because sometimes you can have options where you have like 1 card of Flak 41s without and 1 Flak 41 card with, and then you can like choose if you need the supply or not. But to be forced to bring in the supply every time you need AA seems like a bad idea in this division. Verframen is available as well. Only 1 of them in phase A. So same as the Panzerwerfer. But these are both good rocket units. It comes with the 6 rockets there. Well, it fires 6 rockets, but you actually get 12, so you get 2 reloads. And yeah, it's a nice rocket unit for the early game, for sure. In the air tab, Focke-Wulf 58, Recon aircraft, not very strong at the moment, 230 km/h speed, extremely slow, and bad resilience. It's going to get shot down so easily, so just be careful with using that. DO 217 is actually a pretty good option here. If you bring them in at 2-star vet, you're going to get a lot of damage done to anything that you strafe. These are really good ground attack aircraft. So yeah, definitely a nice choice. There's also the Focke-Wulf 189s. Now these are not too bad because not only can they spot targets, but they can also bomb the targets they spot. And they can one-shot 6 health, I think maybe 7 health AT guns if you get lucky. So yeah, a nice unit for 65 points. Availability is a little lackluster for what you're getting in the early game, but either way, you know, decent aircraft to try out. There's the JU-87D3. These do come with the 1 500kg bomb, so you're going to be able to definitely knock out support weapons in 1 shot for the most part. They might struggle a little bit though to kill armor because they don't have multiple bombs, which can really help with, you know, doing damage to armored targets. Because when like HE lands next to a target, it does like 1 damage. And so if you hit it with 5 different bombs, then it does 5 damage. And if you hit it with 1 bomb, it's only going to do 1 damage, right? Regardless of the HE. Like, it does... That's not... It's not 100% correct, but that's the way to think about it. That's... Like, bigger HE bombs do more damage in some cases. Especially if they land, like, behind the tank, for example. But... yeah, for the most case, think about it like that. So these aren't so good against tanks. BF-109 G2s, 4 available in A and 8 available in B. These are pretty good. Well, I say pretty good. They're kind of trash, but they do have good speed, and they're pretty much the only fast fighter with good agility that you have. So almost a must-have, just because. But I would only ever really bring them in pairs. Otherwise, you're going to struggle to shoot things down, because most of the time they overshoot because they can't do enough damage before they get past the thing they're firing at. Ju-88 is available as well. This is, you know, reasonable for strafing. It does have the close air support role, but you don't really need these as well as the DO, and the DO is much cheaper. So, yeah, I wouldn't really recommend bringing this in. The DO has very good resilience as well, so there's no reason really why you would take it over the DO. Then there's the ME-410, which is like a faster strafing unit. It does have 2 30 cals and 2 20 mils, so it does have pretty decent armament for ground strafing, but it is quite expensive. So, you know, considering you can do the same for 65 points, bear that in mind. Also, since it's fast, it doesn't actually have as much time on target as DO does, so there is that as well. But yeah, the speed does definitely help it get out of a bad situation if you're flying, you know, towards the enemy. Then there's cards of HE-111 H-21s, and these have a payload of 8 250kg bombs. You can bring in 1 in A, 2 in B, and 4 in C. So technically you can bring in 12 of these and create a massive wall of bombers, which is very cool, but ultimately not as effective as it once was, in my opinion, due to the AA changes mainly. So there you go. Yeah, that's pretty much all of your air tab. So in terms of like availability and stuff and activation points, your Recon tab is relatively okay. You're probably going to go like 2 or 3 cards in the Recon tab. And then Infantry tab, you're definitely going to probably go all the way to at least the card with 3 points. So you're going to have quite a lot of Infantry to work with in this division, and a lot less Recon. Whereas, like, for example, the Task Force Bottler kind of makes up for some of its Infantry in the Recon tab. Tatra definitely doesn't. The tanks are pretty good, but availability is a bit weird on the tank tab. But they definitely have some good options for armor. Support tab is quite generous, to be honest, so you can definitely fit in like MG42 and maybe whatever of your choice. You can certainly bring in one of the 2 military police, which I definitely recommend if you're using a lot of disheartened units, so that's something to think about. Anti-tank tab is also very generous, and since you get so many different choices here, you can mess around with that a lot. Anti-air is a must, of course. You're going to be filling that out, no doubt. And air tab is actually quite generous as well. Artillery is kind of like a maybe. So you've kind of got a division that's going to rely quite a lot on its infantry, anti-tank / tank complement. And that's kind of how the whole thing plays out. Is it's very much like a infantry-centric division that then relies on like the anti-tank units to kind of back it up, for the most part, because your tank availability is generally quite low. And then you can kind of use the air as well. Panzerdivision Tatra, to be honest, is quite a well-rounded division. It just lacks late-game armor availability compared to some of the other divisions available on the Axis side. Anyway, let's go through, or take a quick look at a division that I made earlier. So here we are, looking at my division, Panzerdivision Tatra. We've got 3 cards of Recon in my one. I've got the Speertrupp in the early game to provide my infantry recon, plus the SBW 231 to provide 20mm armoured car support in the early game. And then I'm doing 8 Alcala with the 222s in the in phase B, so that I have plenty of those 222s throughout the game, because the 222s are super good if you use them correctly to support your infantry in sort of like town engagements and close range engagements, where you can kind of stay out of line of sight of enemy armor while staying in line of sight of enemy infantry. The infantry tab, I don't really take many disheartened units. I think, you know, there is definitely an opportunity for you here to bring a lot of disheartened units, but I think the Volksdam are like 100% worth it. Definitely one of the best disheartened unit you can bring. So definitely going to bring them, and 15 points, 18 availability is going to get you through phase A and possibly into phase B a little bit before you even use up the whole card. But I'm supplementing them with Sturm Pioneers for close range engagement, and then Panzer Grenadiers with Panzerfaust for longer range engagements, plus their half track, which can be quite a nuisance in the early game if your opponent doesn't have any reliable AT. So you can definitely get a lot of value out of those half tracks and pinning down your opponent. Pioneer Führer is my leader of choice. Then I got Pioneer MG26s for close range engagement, plus Panzer Grenadiers with MG26s for longer range engagement in phase B. And then in phase C, I'm going to be focusing on more MG26 Panzergrans with Sturm Grenadiers for the close to medium range. So in this case, I am using 2 cards on the 3 activation point slots, which is pretty big. But as you can see, I've kind of stripped back elsewhere in order to accommodate for that. So my infantry here is very strong, and then I'm supporting it with a decent amount of high veterancy tanks. So I've got the Panzer 38Ts, they're really good for killing light armor in the early game, but then you can see that my Panzer 3Ls are 2-vet, the Stug 3s are 2-vet, the Tiger Es have to be 2-vet, but I'm bringing them in phase B. In phase C, Tiger Es tend to get outclassed by some Soviet and Allied armor, so phase B is kind of the sweet spot for the Tiger, I feel. And then I've got Panzer 4Hs in the late game, just kind of continue to supplement my infantry if I need it. In the support tab, I do have the Feldjaeger. I think these are a very, very strong unit in their own right. And then, of course, they provide the the police trait for the disheartened units. Availability is a little light, in my opinion. Like, it's a little bit iffy, like whether or not I want to maybe just take Feldgendarmerie just for the sake of it. But the fact that the Feldjäger do so much damage in their own right is really nice. I just wish you could maybe get like 4. It would probably be nicer. I do bring in both the Stug Es as well. These coming at 2-star vet. Again, just up-vetting everything. Just get super good support units for your infantry. And you see none of my infantry is really up-vet, except from in phase B, where I've purposely up-vet the Panzergrans because I don't need that much availability. So yeah, you can see that's basically the gist of it. I've got Opel Blitz munitions in A for the rocket units, and then more in B for the rocket units again. Also, of course, repairing other units, and then extended supply for the 150mm once they run out of supply from their multi-munitions, which I am bringing them in with. In the anti-tank tab, the 47mm are definitely the best choice for the 90mm of penetration at 1,250 meter range. The extra range over the Pak 36 is 100% worth it, and the extra penetration is actually really nice. Pak 43 is really strong in the early game, definitely worth bringing anyway because they help you deal with IS-2s. The Panzer 4s I'm bringing in at higher veterancy. They can get pretty damn strong if you make them 3-star vet. Rate of fire can go through the roof. With the 145mm of penetration, you're going to be outmatching a lot of T-34s. The Panzers in the late game, just because of their sheer availability, you can get quite a lot of them, and I'm bringing them extra veterancy so that they are both accurate and fire very fast. I would like to potentially get some Panzerschrecks in the mix in the early game, but it's kind of hard to fit them in. The other one I would probably bring is like the ZIS-3s with the radios. I think these have the potential to be really good, but they don't really fit. Anti-air tab, I've done Flakvillings in A and 88s in C. I think this is the best combination for team games. Artillery tab, Panzerwerfer in the early game with the Verframen. Both of these You do lack smoke in the early game, which can be a bit of a struggle, but for the most part you're going to be able to pin anything you come up against with those rockets. Rally Fielder is there to supplement lack of leaders in the infantry tab. Finally, I've got the DO 217J2 for strafing. This thing comes in at 2-star vet. It's really, really good. Excuse me, I'm just having to drink because my voice is getting dry. It's really good for strafing ground targets, and the extra veterancy means it hits hard. I have Ju-87s in the early game as well, in case there's any extra units I need to take care of. And it's great for being able to attack units you can't see. Like, the DO is great, but it can only strafe things it can see, whereas Ju-87 can indirect bomb onto units. So if you see like an AT gun in a tree line, but you don't no longer have line of sight on it, you can then obviously do a fire position command for the Ju-87 to hit it maybe in deeper cover. Like if you maybe see it fall back, you can kind of try and guess where it is with the bomb. BF-109 is super important, especially early on, to cover off your lack of AA. And then I've got 2 of these HE-111 bombers, which I'm using earlier in the game. I think at some point have another card of these in phase C, but I removed it to get another card elsewhere. And yeah, I think these are just good for, you know, helping a breakthrough when your opponent doesn't have much AA. But using those bombers will certainly make them bring in AA, so bear that in mind. And that's it, that's my deck. So yeah, strong infantry units with really nice strong support units, lots of veterancy in there, and then I kind of get my extra availability out of the anti-tank tab here with the Jagdpanzers and the Jagdpanzer 4 and the Jagdpanzer 38T. Rockets from the start, super good. So overall, very, very nice, strong division, and for balanced deployment type works out quite well. But that is it. My voice is breaking. I of course have been ill lately, and I'm just kind of like on the end of that now. So I just about managed to get these recorded for you. I wish I could have brought these to you sooner, because I could have shown you these to you before the game or before the DLC even came out, but unfortunately I just couldn't do it because I was too ill. But anyway, it's out now. You guys can try it out for yourselves as well. This is obviously my opinion on how to build the deck. And you guys can build it however you want. But that's it. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this look at Panzerdivision Tatra. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.